Okay. All right. So thanks again for joining me tonight, guys. We want to talk a little bit about improving math skills with some technology, some different websites and things, resources that we want to make you guys aware of. I believe a lot of you guys were on when we did it 2 weeks ago for reading and ELA skills, where we just shared a bunch of resources, things like that. And we want to kind of do the same thing this evening, as well as talk about how to structure some of the math tutoring sessions, and with the project that we're doing with Christina, some of the things that we'd like to see included in the presentation. So Julie at some point will be on. She'll give some project updates. I want to talk about assessments and some techniques to help a struggling math student. And then we'll go through some resources and then wrap up and answer any questions, things of that nature. Um, so we talked about this a little bit a while back, but when you're setting up your tutor sessions, make sure we have clear objectives for the session. Go over those with the student at the start of the session so that you know both you and the student have a clear idea of what we want to accomplish during the session. With the project that we're doing with Christina, the expectation is that we're helping the students master the skills and concepts that they're laterally learning this year, but that we're working to strengthen and support those skills and concepts that they may have not mastered over the last year and a half due to COVID, the inconsistency in schooling, being online versus, and then being in person, the back and forth there. So typically what we're asking you to do is start out by providing some homework assistance if the student needs that. The student should be at this point be able to share their Clever account with you where they can access Schoology, show you what they're doing in class, what they're doing for homework, and be able to walk you through that by sharing their screen. And then you're going to identify areas of weakness and then spend part of each session building those skills that they may not have mastered or have a weak foundation in. Let me let a couple people in here. We lost Angie. Let me stop sharing for a second, guys. Sorry, Zoom's kind of going crazy here on me. There we go. Okay. One thing that's come up quite a bit is assessment. How should we be assessing the student's skills? And what we want to see is these assessments being done informally. Okay, we're not asking you to give formal assessments for the students. So how do we go about doing that? We basically go through with the student while you're doing your homework. You can do informal assessments there. So, for example, I had a student today that was working on area and finding the area of various shapes. And the assignment that he was working on was asking him to give the area using fractions. Well, the student didn't have a firm foundation of fractions. So I made a note of that, but then proceeded to work on the student finding area just using regular whole numbers. And then at the end of the set, after we finished that, and he had demonstrated that he was able to master finding the area, we then worked on using fractions or working with fractions and converting fractions from mixed fractions to regular fractions. So that's how we're kind of looking for the informal assessments to be done. As you're working with the student through homework and other assignments, you're taking notes and of which skills the student's struggling with, and then incorporating that later in the session, working on those skills. And then another big one is just reaching out to the teachers and the parents, asking them what they're seeing according to the child's performance. The teachers have had the students for 2 months now, so they have a pretty good idea of what skills the student is weak on and what we need to be working on. So you should have all of the teachers' emails in your logbooks. So just send an email out to them, introducing yourself and letting them know that you're working with the student and what are they suggesting that you be working on with the student. And then lastly, just talk to the student and find out from the student what skills they think are they're weak in. All right, another thing that we're asking you to do is make sure we're teaching problem solving techniques. So what we're saying there is, here's some examples here of problem solving techniques that we would like to see you using. Have the student work backwards. So present the student with a problem, give them the answer, and then ask them, how do you get to that answer? Have them draw it out. For a lot of the students that we're working with, they need the visual when it comes to math. So help them to draw the problems out in different ways. For example, if you're teaching multiplication, working with the student to draw a representation of that multiplication problem. You have 4 times 5, so they draw out 5 animals with 4 legs, circle of 4 legs, 5 times 4 is 20. And then we can still use guess and check. Depending on the student, for some students, it's really a struggle. So you may need to go over those guess and check techniques with them. With the student I was working with today on converting improper or mixed numbers or mixed fractions to regular fractions, I was teaching him to, if it was 87 over 8, teaching him to think in his head, which multiplying 8 times 10 to get 80, multiplying 8 times 11 to get 88. So it falls in between. So you have to use 10. And then finally, just talking it out with the student, asking them about their process. What are they doing as they're going through the math problem? And you can gain a lot of information about their thought process and how they're looking at the math problem just by having them talk you through it. And then we're asking you to promote a growth mindset. So some different ways of doing that: praise their effort versus their ability. A lot of the students that we're working with obviously not having success with math right now. So instead of focusing on grades or getting the problem correct, offer praise and encouragement for spending 2 minutes working through the math problem without giving up, things along that nature. Encourage engagement with challenges. I'll talk a little more about that in a minute and provide you with some examples of that. Have the student embrace the word yet. A lot of times when we're teaching math, we hear from the students, I can't do this, right? That's the first thing they say. I don't understand math. I can't do it. So work with them and have them talk about some things that they like to do, right? If they play, all of them play video games. All of them are on TikTok, Instagram, Snapchat, all of that. When they first were introduced to those things, they weren't able to do it, right? They couldn't do it. How'd they do it? They did it through practice and just spending time on the application or on the video game or playing a sport, things like that. So when you were introduced to, when you first started playing your video game, you couldn't do it yet, right? But now you can because you practiced. So have them use that terminology when they're working with math as well. Tout the value of hard tasks to the brain. You know, the brain is like any other muscle. If they're not exercising it, then their thinking skills are not going to improve. So as you're working through the math problems with them, give real world examples of how that concept that you're working on applies. And then demonstrate mistakes and celebrate corrections. So what we're talking about when we say demonstrate mistakes, and I'll add to this a link to some of the common math mistakes that students make. One of the most common, and we've all seen students do it, is they'll see 4 to the 3rd power, and they automatically do 4 times 3 instead of 4 times 4 times 4. So taking common mistakes like that and demonstrating them to the student ahead of time, not waiting for the student to make that mistake, but showing them the mistakes ahead of time so that then they're familiar with what some of those mistakes are and will hopefully avoid making them. And then celebrate their corrections. If they do get something wrong and they're able to go back and correct it on their own, that we're making sure we celebrate that with them. Okay, so this is what I was talking about back here when I said encourage engagement with challenges. Which one doesn't belong? And here's a website. Here, and what you're doing with this, and you can do this as warm-ups, or if you have just some extra time. It's there's a concept brought up by Christopher Danielson. He wrote a book about which one doesn't belong. So for example, here, this is the one I had on the slide, 9, 16, 25, and 43. You're going to ask the student to select the number that doesn't belong. Okay. They may say 9 because that's a single digit number, right? Or they may say 43 doesn't belong because 9, 25, and 16 are all perfect squares. They may say 16 doesn't belong because 16 is an even number and all the rest are odd numbers. So he has a wealth of ones on here. You can go in and
that's a good idea.
you select them right here. What's that, Julie?
That's a good idea. This is very.
Yeah, I mean, the goal is to get them to
really
start thinking in different ways when it comes to
Yeah.
math. For a lot of these students, just teaching them the traditional way of doing math is not working for them.
Yeah.
We need to get them to start looking at math problems in different ways and looking for the patterns and realizing that the pattern isn't always the same.
I use those all the time, even with my little ones.
Right.
And even I just got off with someone. And so my 7-year-olds are like, that's a single digit, and those are double digits, or
Right.
that's bigger than 10. So they love it. And
Which one doesn't belong? That's a really good idea.
yeah, I use it all the time. There's another one. I don't know if you're using it, is the would you rather? And there's a bunch of math ones with would you rather.
I'm going to get to that one here and
sorry.
further in. That's all right. No, you're good, Karen. Isla, what do you mean? Should we be getting parents' approvals first?
I think she means with contacting the teacher.
No, we had the permission from the school district to contact the teacher.
Oh, okay, yeah, I just
Yeah.
wasn't sure,
Yeah, that's
if the
fine.
parent needs to, give approval as well. Okay, no problem. Thank you.
And just so that you're aware, the teachers are the ones who are recommending the students for this program.
Got it. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Okay. Okay, now we're gonna take a look at some of the websites that I pulled for you guys. All of these websites are free and can be set up at no cost. All you have to do is open the membership, set up a free membership, and then you're able to join the website or use the materials found on the website. So the first one, and you guys may be familiar with some of these. Prodigy is one that I'm using quite a bit with some students now. It's a game-based application. And once you sign up, you can set up a class for all of your students. They don't have to be in the same grade or anything like that because you can assign students based on their level. You can give them an assessment and figure out where they're at. When you're setting it up, it'll ask you which state you're in, so it automatically makes the work that they're doing conform with Delaware standards. Once you have the students set up and get them into their where they're at, what I like about it is there's different reports and things you can pull. So the student that I'm working with right now, he's actually working on it at home as well, going on it. And you can see how many problems he's doing. So like this is from last Thursday at school, he did 52 questions while he was in study hall. And then on Friday, he went home and he's not at school on Friday, but he actually went in and did 37 questions. So you can get an idea of where they're at, of if they're actually using it. And then, sorry, the dog's getting a little upset.
He's using it.
Excuse me one second. Let me grab him real quick. Sorry about that. I'm home alone and usually I have someone here dealing with him. Okay, back to the websites. I want to go back now. Okay. So that's a little bit about Prodigy and what we can do there. Most of you are probably familiar with this one, Zern, which we used over the summer with the Department of Education. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time here. Just know that they did upload sixth grade now. So you're able to access those lessons and go through those with your students as well. It's the same with Prodigy. You can create student accounts here. The big difference between Zern and Prodigy is more game-based, where Zern is more actually, doing actual math all the time. The students seem to enjoy Prodigy more because of the game aspect of it. I typically use Prodigy during the times where, it's the end of a session. There's maybe 5 minutes left. We finished up. Let the student go on to that. It can be used as a reward, that type of thing. The next website I wanted to show you guys is from the University of Colorado at Boulder, and it's called Colorado FETS. And this is different simulations and sims that the student can complete. So when we go in here, you can select by, so they do have ones for all different subjects, not just math. When you go in here, you can select by the math concepts. You can select by grade level. Okay, elementary school. So if we go elementary, an example of one in here is Area Builder, where they can select, they have to build area. So here the goal would be to build a shape with an area of 12 units, and then just move them up, hook them together, and hit check, and then they move on to the next one. So I encourage you to go in here and spend some time kind of looking through here. There's a lot of different concepts covered for them in here. The next one would be Open Up Resources, which is actually used by some of the districts here in Delaware as part of their math program. And this actually has lessons built right into it, where the student can go in. You can use it to teach a concept to the student, or just have the student go in and do practice problems. So like here's 6th grade. Finding area. They can look at a pattern, which one covers more the plane, blue rhombuses, red trapezoids, triangles. How do you know? So they can use that. It also has applets in it as well. So it makes it interactive for them. Here they can look at the shape, right, and figure out which one's covering more. They can slide and fade and show the frames of the different shapes to help them with counting it out and figuring out which one covers more. Okay. Back to here, just to get caught up here. I'm not going to go into Khan Academy. I know all of us are familiar with Khan. I use that one a lot when just with the practice problems, present the concept and then have the student go on there. They can share their screen with you and work through the problems there. The next one is Illuminations. And this one is, this site is maintained by the National Council for Mathematics, and has a lot of different interactives on here. You can select it by grade, and then which concept you're working on with your student. And it'll, once you select over here, it brings them up, and you can just click on it. I don't think I'm logged in. That's why it's not letting me go to that one. Once you log in, it will let you actually go to that. I thought I'd logged in here before. Yeah, I am logged in. Let's go back and try a different one. But you get the idea. If you search by grade, it goes all the way up to high school. So you can actually, if you're working with high school students, algebra is available, geometry. Okay. CK12.org is an open source curriculum. And here again, all you have to do is sign up. These are all the courses that are actually available. So it's obviously much more than math. It breaks it down by grade level, and then it also breaks it down by subject. The good thing about this is if your students have a Google account, you can actually share it with them and assign them things to do in between sessions. If they're looking for extra practice, where you can just set up a class and then assign it to them there. And then they have it right in their Google Classroom. And then what's nice about this is it has an interactive feature. It has a video, and then it has practice problems. So with my students, I actually use this with some of the students that I teach in Augustine Hill School. We use the curriculum directly from here. So the videos are available if he's having trouble with homework. He can actually just go back and watch a video if I'm not available to help him out at the time. And then it gives them practice problems as well. And if they're going through the actual lesson itself, it also has interactives built into the lessons that the student can use to practice with. This one here is the one Karen was referencing. Would you rather? This is one that is kind of along the lines of which one doesn't belong. So you can use this to kind of just get the students thinking. So we'll pull up one here. Would you rather receive a gift of $1.50 for every month of your life, or a nickel for every day of your life? You know, and so just to kind of get the students thinking about math and, you know, get them thinking of some different ways, you know, which is the better deal, and having them do some math. Okay. The next couple sites I'm going to share with you are directly related to the curriculum that Christina is using. So your students may be familiar with these sites already. The first is the curriculum that Christina is using with students in K through 5 is Bridges in Mathematics. So this first website, the Math Learning Center, goes directly along with the units in that curriculum. So if they've shared with you what they're actually working on, you're able to go in here and find the apps that go along with that, whatever they happen to be studying. So I'll try this one here. So say if they're learning about shapes, let's see. I don't think I launched it correctly. I was just on this 2 seconds ago, right before I got on with you guys. So I'm not sure why it's coming up like this. But basically here, what you would do is just have them launch this app, and then you're going to have them use it to maybe calculate area, to calculate or just to do different shapes. Ask them to make you a triangle, ask you to make you a rectangle. Make a square and then calculate your 5x5 square. What's the square area of that square? Have them make a rectangle, the same type of thing. So something that gets them participating in the lesson, gives them control of the screen, those types of things. Okay, college preparatory mathematics. This is what they're using with grades 6 through 8th. Ties in directly with this curriculum. And when you come here, what you're going to do is, I can get my bar out the way. Go to curriculum. And go here to homework help. These are the different course levels that they're working in. So once you know which course level your student's in, you simply click on that. It's broken down by chapters. And then it's broken down by sections within those chapters. So you just click on the section that they're on, the lessons, and then there'll be practice problems in here that the student can work through as well. Okay. And then lastly, guys, I just put in these in here. If you're looking for additional resources, these are all worksheet websites. I'm sure many of you are familiar with. Common Core Sheets, Math Drills, and CUDA software. The thing about these websites is all the worksheets are free. They literally have thousands.
Saturday morning, we're here and we're together. Very sad.
They have thousands of worksheets on them. And you can simply just print them out, or you can download and then send to your student. A lot of times I'll just share a link with the student in the chat, and the student can pull it right up on their computer. Okay. Let's see next. Okay. Julie must have gotten tied up. We actually missed this slide here. So let's go over that one real quick. Multiple modes of representation. This goes back to getting the students to think about math in different ways and to realize that we can depict math problems in many different ways. And I can make this sheet available for you guys as well. So here they're looking at the math problem that the dragonfly can go fast. It can go 50 feet in 2 seconds. So then how long would it take it to fly 275 feet? So then we work with the student to depict that in the different ways, right? They can depict it in chart form, by seconds in feet, till they get to 11 seconds and 275 feet. They can depict it on a number line, counting by 50s until they and 25 until they get to 275 feet. We can show them how to build it as a simple equation: rate, distance equals rate times time, and then filling it in and solving the equation. And then we can go over with them how to graph with distance over time, and at 11 seconds they'll be at 275 feet. So this is just getting the students exposed to the concept that we don't have to always demonstrate or show math in the same way. That a lot of times it's about the process. What process did you use? You got to the right answer. Can you explain to me how you got to that answer? Is what we're looking at. Okay. I don't believe anyone is in the waiting room. No. So some project updates. I'm sure that many of you got Gus's email. that came out yesterday regarding background checks. I think most of you that are on here have already done that. I know that there was talk for a while there about drug testing. If they're remote, if you're working remote with students, it's no longer required. Angie, do you know what else she was talking about in terms of updates here? I'll turn it over to you for just a sec.
Sure, I believe it would, just make sure that everyone is regularly filling out your logs, and that is up to date because Gus is going through, and the people that are inactive, we will be looking at replacing them with students that you can have other students added onto your log sheet. So just make sure that when you are getting your students assigned, that you are reaching out and trying to get the parents engaged in setting up services. I believe some of you may be using Scent more, but we are you can be using Zoom if you need to. So because Scent more was more of like for scheduling, and there is that component. If it's working for you, great. And if not, you can be using Zoom for the sessions. If there's parents who or students who have not been showing up, make sure that you are attempting to reach out to the parents during the session and then recording on your log sheet of what your attempts were so that we can, see what you're doing when there is a no-show. And then, as you know, you will be paid for those. And then if there are 3 no-shows consecutively, Gus would need to know right away. Then we will be reaching out to the parents and seeing, what might be the concern with that. And then hopefully we'll be able to get them back on track. And Gus can be reached at tutoring@backtobasicslearning.com. If you have any questions, concerns anytime, just make sure that you're keeping him abreast of, any questions that you may have or any concerns with the students that you have. And when reaching out to the the teachers, they should be responding back to you probably within 48 hours so that you can get, information on your students and keeping that line of communication ongoing with them so that you're checking in. There might be some things that are going on in the classroom that they can share with you throughout, the months coming up that, your student may need to work on. So to make sure you're just keeping that line of communication, checking in, every, 2 to 3 weeks, just making sure that everything's, they're seeing improvement, in the classroom, things that the student's struggling with so that we can be working on that with the sessions. Right. And right now, I believe we have about 300 students in the program. And so we get students every day. So if you have students and you can take on, a couple more, just let us know that as well and reach out to Gus with that. Thank you.
Thanks, Angie.
Mhm.
I would add too that we are continuing to look for additional tutors. So if you know of anyone that may be interested in doing a few hours, please put them in contact with us. There is a referral bonus if they come on board, and I believe they stay 90 days. Then we do pay a referral bonus for that. So if you have anyone you think might be interested, please let them know and have them reach out. Okay, any questions or concerns that we can address? Okay. Well, I'm sorry, Karen, you're on mute.
Sorry, just, I know, sorry. A
That's
quick
okay.
question, Thanksgiving week, I believe they have off the whole week. Are they not meeting that week? Are they?
If the
Um,
parents,
I know I'm going away Tuesday through Saturday, so I already told my
mhm,
families that, but
Right.
if you are available to see your students, you can offer that to the parents, but it's not mandatory.
okay.
We did reach out to the district and they stated that if there's a mutually agreed upon arrangement, that those sessions can occur during, any of the breaks that we have coming up, which then will be winter break. So you can be seeing your students. But if they're not available, there's no
Okay.
mandatory that they have to, have sessions during these breaks.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? We'll make this available just like we made the reading one available. It'll come out in an email from Gus or myself in the next day or so. And we'll give you access to the PowerPoint and all of those things so that you have them all in one spot. Okay. All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. If you have any questions or concerns, feel free to reach out. Okay.
All right, thank you. And thank you
Thank
for
you.
those
Have a good night.
resources. Thank you for the resources.
Yes, you bet.
Bye-bye.
No problem. Have a great evening.